In this tutorial, we're going to create a generic form action page. This is a page that you can use to be the action page for any form when you're developing the form, and it will just echo out all of the data values that are being passed to the form. So let's start this. We want to go to our files, and I'll go to the top folder in my site, right click, pick new file, and so we're going to call this form action generic, because this is just going to be the generic form action page. And then double click on it to edit it, make my files box go away. Alright, so we'll go into split mode. And I do want a title for my page. So we'll call this the generic form action page. And in our body, let's just put a little text to remind us what it's supposed to do. So this page will display incoming data from a form using either the get method or the post method. It will even display data from both methods, but it would be very rare to use both get and post at the same time. Now notice with that I didn't say it's impossible to use it. It is possible that you could use the get and post method at the same time. It's just not very common to do that. Alright, so there's some static text we put on the page to remind us of what this page is for, but now we want to have this page use PHP to print out some PHP values for us. So now I'm going to switch down into the code view, and I'm going to insert a PHP code block so that I've got a place to put some PHP. And in the instructions on It's Learning, I thought that it would be as easy as doing echo $, get, which is our super global for the get method, and just doing that. And if we put that in, then PHP would automatically echo out the contents of the get array in order to show us what was inside the array. But if we do that, I'm going to do File, Save, and then let's go to a page, form action generic.php. We can see what PHP prints out is just the word array. So that's letting us know that, hey, yes, I know that $_get represents an array. And what we really need is we need it to print out the content of the array. So let's get a little fancier with this. We're going to echo, and first thing we're going to do is data from a form, and I'm going to put the phrase here via URL, because remember, when you use the get method, the data is really coming in through the URL using the get method. Okay, and then remember, when we're echoing stuff out in PHP, that doesn't automatically create a new line in HTML, so we'll include a break tag so that that will go to a new line. And it's good to know, how many entries are there in that get array. So we're going to print out the number of entries. And remember, in PHP, string concatenation is done with the dot operator with a period. So that's how we join multiple strings together. And if we want to know how many entries are in an array, we use the count function. So we're going to count what's in $get. And then we want to combine with that another break tag so that it'll go to the new line. Okay, and then now finally what we need to do here, since there are multiple entries in the get array, we're going to use a for each loop to print out each entry. So for each, and the first thing we do is tell it what array we want to pull out of, as, and then we tell it what variable we want the keys to go in, and then we do =, greater than, kind of makes a little arrow, and then we tell it what variable we want the value to go into. So that tells us that for each key and value pair in the get array, we're going to do the body of this loop. And then what we want to echo in the body of the loop will be the key is equal to $key, put a comma, space, value equals, again using the dot for string concatenation, $value. And then at the end of this, we want to add another break tag so it'll go to the next line. And now we can put the right curly bracket to end our loop. So we've got a nice little 3-line for each loop that will print out each key value pair that's coming in through our get method for sending data to a form. So let's file, save this, and this is pretty easy to test because we can go back to our previous test. If we refresh, then now we can see that the number of entries is 0. We don't have any data coming in using the get method. But if we want to pass in some data, all we have to do is come up here to the URL and add some key value pairs to the URL. So we can put question mark, and I'll create the variable a equals 12 ampersand, and then a variable b is equal to car, so it can be numbers, it can be text, and variables can be longer names. Let's say gender equals capital M for male. And then now with those 3 values in, if I hit enter, then we can see now the data from a form via the URL using the get method shows us 3 entries. The A was the key, the value was 12, B was the key, the value was car, and then gender was the key, and the value was M. That's a real simple way to test the get method. Well, the other variable that form data can come in on is the post method, and it's basically this same stuff except it uses the post array instead of the get array. So we can go ahead and add that capability to our page by just making a copy of our code to do the loop here. And let's put an echo. We'll put a couple breaks in between. And we'll paste in our code. And now let's change our comment. So this will be data from a form. And remember, the post method does not come in through the URL. It comes in a way where people can't see it. So that makes it more secure. So we're going to do our post. We're going to set that to post. And then now everything else should work. So if we save this, go back to our browser page, do a refresh, and we see that, okay, we still have data coming from the get method, but we have no data coming from the post method. So now we have a good generic form action page that anytime we're creating and testing a form, we can use this page as the action page while we're developing the form.